Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Bible study here on our YouTube channel for the Needville United Methodist Church. Hope you're having a great week so far. And I encourage you to subscribe and like the video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we have Bible studies, sermons, and other information that comes on here. Being subscribed to us gives you those notifications and lets you know when a new video comes up. The like allows this video to go out into the world, hopefully be seen by so many more people, and which hopefully will bring them to Christ. So if you haven't done either one, please go do those two things. The last one is our comment section. Use that comment section. Talk to me through it. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see done. If there's a topic you'd like me to talk about, if there's a question that you might have after watching the video, if there's questions about what I have said, that would be a great place to have a discussion. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have for me. Just use the comment section down below and ask those questions through that medium. You can also go on to our Facebook page or our website. You'll get all the contact information that you need through both of those sites for the church office, and for me personally. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to have that conversation about what it means to be a Christian, what it means to follow Christ, who Jesus Christ is, all that kind of stuff, please give me a call. Let's have that conversation. I would be more than happy to sit down and talk with you in whatever capacity you would like to do so. So use our website, use the Facebook page, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and use the comment section down below. And let's get into our Bible study for today. We are continuing looking at the word miracle and the acts that merit being called miracles. Last week, we asked the question of what is a miracle? Because it's important for us to know what we're talking about. And at the end of the day, the miracle is simply the idea of God stepping down into the world and doing something that is, for us as mortals, something that is absolutely impossible to conceive. Now, the easy miracles to see, the ones that are easily seen as miracles, I guess I should say, are the healing miracles, right? If someone goes into the hospital with cancer, they leave with no cancer, and the doctors are sitting there scratching their heads going, how did this happen? Tumors disappear overnight. Pain suddenly recedes. Those types of things that medical science just can't explain. And then we chalk it up to, well, God must have intervened. That's what a miracle is. But we can see it throughout all things, right? All things that are impossible for humans are always possible for God. And we pray to God for help. We pray to God for those miracles to happen. But today we're going to really start getting into the question that this whole sermon series that we're doing on Sundays is all about. And that is, what happens when the miracle doesn't happen? What happens when the miracle doesn't exist? What happens when we look up to God and go, why? Why, God, did you not take care of this? I know that you can. I know that you could. Why didn't you? That's what the series is about. And we're talking more in depth here in our Bible studies. So for today, we're going to get into that question. Why, God, did that person receive the miracle and not me? Why did that person receive the miracle and not my friend, my family member, my mom, my dad, my sister, whoever it is? Why is it that that person got it and that person didn't? It seems arbitrary. It seems just like God's playing dice. It seems like God's just picking and choosing his favorites. And somehow I didn't merit being called his favorite. That's what the world looks like sometimes, doesn't it? And I mean, we could talk about so many different kinds of miracles, but in this Bible study today, I want to talk about the medical miracles, the miracles of life and death. And you know the ones that I'm talking about. When you go into the hospital and the doctor that runs all the tests and comes back and looks you in the eye and says, there's nothing more that we can do. If you've never experienced that, I hope it's a long time until you do. But every person on this earth is going to experience that helpless feeling that comes when the experts in the field come to you and tell you there's nothing more that we can do. Whether they say it because you're the one in the bed, or it's your parent, or it's your child, or it's your friend. When the doctors come and say, there's nothing more that we can do, what's the first reaction that almost everyone wants to take? We appeal to the highest power. We appeal to the one being that can change that outcome, because the doctors can't. So we're going to have to go above their heads. And we go to God, knowing that God can heal, that he can take that tumor out. He can eradicate the cancer. He can do whatever it is that needs to be done. He can do it. Now the question is, can we get him to do it? Will he do it? Will he stretch out his hand and heal in the way that we know he can? And every time I go to a hospital room, when this is the case, when I go to hospice rooms, when I go to people's houses and they're on hospice, one of my favorite scriptures to fall back on comes from Ecclesiastes. The very beginning of the 3rd chapter is one that a lot of people know, whether they know that it's Ecclesiastes or not. It's the verse by verse breakdown that says, for every season, for everything there is a reason, for everything there is a season, for every time under the sun. Starts off with, there's a time to be born and there's a time to die. And there's a couple of these, there's about 15 or 16 of these little one-liners that go throughout it. But basically, the whole point of it is that there is a time and place and purpose for every moment that happens in your life. But one of the two ones that I wanted to really focus on in it were the ones that say there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn and a time to dance. Those are the two big ones that I wanted to really highlight. And the reason is because, as I said, when that hospice room comes, when that doctor comes in and says, it's done, there's nothing more that can be done, it's over, and we appeal to God, we all know that sometimes God does intervene. A person is put on hospice and said, you're given a couple months to live, and 3 years later they're still healthy and running around. So what's the difference between that person and the person who is given a couple months to live, goes and prays, family prays, church prays, and within 2 to 3 weeks they're gone? What's the difference between the two? To understand all this, I'm going to use a story. The story focuses around a family who is unfortunately having to put their beloved dog down. I don't know if you've ever been through that experience, but it's a heart-wrenching experience. The vet comes to the house to perform the procedure. He injects the dog. The dog drifts off to sleep and into death. The whole family is in the living room, weeping, crying, holding each other. And invariably, even if it's a human or dog or whatever it is, the family starts to look towards the fact that he was gone too soon. He didn't live as long as we wanted him to. And especially since we're talking about a dog, they talked about the fact that dogs' lives seemed so much shorter than humans. And they started asking the question of why that would be. Why is it that a dog only lives for 10 to 12 to 15 years? Why couldn't they live longer like humans do? And as they asked those questions, a little boy in the room pipes up. He says, I know why they have such short lives. They all turn around to this young child with shocked faces and ask him to continue. And he says, well, people are born so they can learn how to live a good life, how to love each other, how to be with each other. And he said, well, dogs already do that. They already know how to do that. So they don't have to stay for as long as we do. It's a comical story, but it speaks something to what I like to tell people when I go into the hospital rooms, when I see people. I've said it to people who are going into surgeries that they don't know if they're going to come out of. I've said it to people who are literally on their deathbeds, but are still deathly afraid of the bed that they are sleeping in. I've said it to family members and friends who are desperately looking for that miracle to keep their husband, their mother, their wife, their sister, whoever it is, alive for just a little bit longer. And I say the same thing to you today. God has a purpose for your life. And he is not going to call you home until that purpose is done. I don't know what that purpose is. And sometimes you may not know. But he has a purpose for you being here, and he will have a purpose for calling you home when that happens too. When your purpose is done, when your race is complete, it is the perfect time for God to say, welcome home, good and faithful servant. You have run your race well. But until that race is won, we have to keep running. And that goes back to that Ecclesiastes passage. There is a time for everything. There is a time to continue running the race, but there is going to be a time when that race needs to end and eternity will begin. We can ask all we want of God. Why didn't you give the miracle here? Why didn't you heal this person? Why didn't you step in here when we know that you could have? And whether we get the exact answer from him or not really doesn't matter. The most important answer that I want you to hear today is this one. God intervenes when it is a part of his plan, and God does not intervene when it is not part of his plan. We can rest in the faithful knowledge that if that person down the hallway received a miracle, God has a purpose for them still here on earth. If your loved one didn't receive the miracle, it was not because he didn't love them. It was because he loved them so much that he said, well done, good and faithful servant. Your race has been run. As I said at the beginning of the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, use the comment section below to talk with me about anything that's going on. And I hope to see you either in church on Sunday morning at 10:45 or here on our YouTube channel for our sermon on Sunday, also at 10:45. May God continue to bless you until we next meet.